you being off video, but that doesn't matter. All right,
That's good
so
content.
we are live now. Let's see.
Morning, guys. Welcome to the $7 to $100 million podcast, where we share the truth of scaling a business from 7 million to 100 million and everything that goes in between. I am driving today, so I will be on here, but no camera. I'm joined by Danielle and Paul, both intrepid explorers on our journey, building the $100 million podcast as we go through this. So Paul's our CTO and tech wizard, and Danielle is our marketing manager. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Friday.
All right, so let's quickly check and see. So we're like episode 28 now. Let's do a quick check and see kind of what we're getting podcast wise, traffic, views, downloads. Let's just check in on what the impact is that we're having.
Yeah, so as for Spotify, the last 30 days, we have 43 plays and downloads. So this would be not live obviously not live listeners, because Spotify comes on after. So that's just post live stream.
That's actually kind of surprising to me, because like it's not like do we stream live? So like we only there, but it's like, how do people find us on there? Like, it's not like we can post.
Yeah, so when I do like our social organic posts and stuff, I usually will, if it's a video from the podcast, I'll link it or say, follow us here, or here's our, platforms. I have our, or I'll direct them to the website page as well. So different places where they can find it. But that's how I do it that way. And then, so with Spotify, when I upload the videos there, that will post to all of our podcast platforms simultaneous, which is awesome. So that helps too. And then of course, when it's live, like, for example, like when I pulled up LinkedIn this morning, like Tim's post was on there and it was the live from yesterday. So that helps too, because it helps keep it, it puts it on the feed.
I see that.
People can see it post, as well, to help bring attention. I'm going to try to go to YouTube itself and see where's our podcast channel here, and see what that is. We've had 65 views on the YouTube specific platform of the podcast.
Okay, so
we're not hitting crazy numbers, but we are getting people to watch, which is good.
We are. All right, so then let's ask this
B2B world. Yeah,
exactly. Well, let's ask this question. So we're about almost 30 episodes in now, and we're obviously live streaming the journey of building the company and stuff we're learning and all that. I want to ask this question. So we have more, better, new. More would be we just keep doing more of these episodes the exact way we're doing it. Better would be is the format. So I think I want to pose this question.
Okay.
Is the format that we're doing, so the three of us on here live streaming, what we're seeing, what we're learning, the process we're going through, like that's the current format we're working through. Is that format what people want to see? Like, is this, like, do we have enough data yet to decide that this format is what people want to see, not that what they want to see? Like, let's have that conversation. Let's try to decide if this format is what people want.
I mean, my first gut reaction is so we've been doing this, 28 episodes. So that's roughly the last 2 months. When you think about business days, or month, 6 weeks, I guess. I don't think we have enough data yet. Just because, especially when it comes to, social, when you're not running ads, when you're just doing organic social, it takes time to really build that audience. So I feel like until we have a bigger audience, it's harder to know what people like and don't like in this aspect. That's just my initial thought.
Yeah, I think there's like two things. So one, I think no matter what the format is, this is the viewership I would kind of expect at this point for how long we've been doing it.
Yep.
And I also think, like, what I like about this is there's an element of capture. So the challenge I'd say with other formats is other formats cost a lot more of our time. And so, I think there's a trade-off here. Now, sure, if we did a different format and it was like a way bigger hit, that could be worth it. But usually, like non-capture formats are time investments of planning, agendas, etc. So yeah, I don't know. Like I think I'm open to talking about different formats, but I'm at this point, like I wouldn't necessarily think like I've seen enough podcasts, like early videos, to know that no matter what the format, even if it's a really great format, you usually don't see much traction until much later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we should have more traction yet at this point. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm just saying is, do we have enough data yet to know if the people who are watching really enjoy this format, right? Or they want to see a more polished, like, more experts on the podcast, like, getting other marketing professionals on who have bigger names and stuff like that, right? Like, like Chris Williamson having the Hormozis on, for example, right? Is that what people are looking for? I don't know. I just don't know the answer. It's good though to be constantly analyzing. Is what I'm doing working? Am I getting the results I'm expected to get? Is there anything I could be doing to get better results? Right. That's what I'm asking. I don't think it's necessarily good or bad yet, but I do wonder if the format, like, here's the concern. One concern I have is that joining other people's Zoom meetings, typically if you're the one presenting on Zoom and talking, like you're engaged, but if you're sitting in someone else's Zoom meeting, it's like pretty boring if you're not in the thing. So I do want to make sure that people see value from it, the way we're doing it, that it doesn't come across as like an internal Zoom meeting that we're having, which I think people wouldn't find that interesting.
One format change that I would guess would be more engaging is actually like shorter but like harder hitting. So I think the longer our podcast is, the less like we're probably hitting points that are relevant to other people. And so it might be
that's
useful.
probably true.
It might be useful in like the long-term picture. So like as we scale and like see success, people might really appreciate the unedited, longer discussions. But at the moment, I would guess that it's like it seems like the viewers that do tune in tune in just for like a little bit. I was talking to my dad about it, and I think he was saying something similar. Like he'll watch for a little bit, but then he finds it like it gets a little bit in the weeds of stuff outside of his interests, so he'll stop watching. Yeah.
Right. Now that is good feedback. He isn't our ideal customer though, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, but that was kind of my thought as well too, is do we, on the podcast, are we spending time getting into the weeds because it's like the live data that we're going through, but for other people, it's not interesting enough for them to watch consistently, right?
We probably also need to think about like who is our ICP for this. Like, is it agency owners that want to scale and they're watching our journey? Is it marketing leaders that want to see how we're scaling an agency, and how they might draw parallels to their business? That could be worth discussing too, because we're kind of probably more tailored to like other agency owners at the moment.
I would say, Paul, if I had to say who our ICP for this podcast is, it is entrepreneurs who are following the Cody Sanchez's, the Gary V's, the Hormozis, the Grant Cardones, and they are just aggressive, want to grow type people, like the kind of people who we met at the Hormozi event, right? Just they want to grow, they're willing to spend money, they want to do what it takes. We like those kind of people, like they're kindred spirits, if you will. And so I think those type of people would really appreciate, especially smaller businesses, what do you actually do every day? What are you working through? If your company is 6 or 7 times the size of my company, what are you doing differently? That's who I think would really enjoy seeing the in the weeds stuff. But I could be totally wrong. Like people could be really bored by that. I don't know. That's just an assumption I'm making, which is all I'm doing today is I'm challenging that assumption, right? This is something we are doing, but it doesn't mean that it's right or that we know what we're doing. So we should challenge it constantly. And Hormozy said in meetings now, he will ask 3 questions. What is it you're recommending we do? How do you know that that's true? So I said, it's like, no, we should keep doing the podcast. People like this. How do you know that people like this? How do you know that data is true? What is that based on? So he asked people to defend their position, which I think is smart, because if we claim something, it's like, how do I know that that's true? Well, my gut tells it to me. Okay. Or, oh wait, here's this. I ran, statistical analysis surveys across our company and blah, blah, blah. And this is what I found. Oh, okay. Interesting. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more of that is I'm just trying to make sure, do we have data to make better decisions on?
No, I like that you're posing the question. I did look up, just Paul, to your point about the length. It says 70% prefer about 30-minute episodes. Anything over 30%, it's like a 34% drop off. So the shorter, punchier episodes might be better, or, just in, and then just like from my experience as well, I feel like my brain, when I'm listening to something or watching something, especially if it's something I'm using my brain really hard for to learn, I can only, after a certain amount of time, I got to stop and, make sure I absorb everything that I just listened to versus, that fatigue over a long period of time.
Yeah. I agree with that also.
If we could benefit, this is just be an idea. And I really just don't think we have enough data to know yet what direction they go, but also having somewhat of almost like a standing meeting structure too. So we have a section where we can kind of go off on whatever is the most pertinent as well. But then we have some daily habits that we go through. And maybe that would be interesting for people. We check on some stats, we ask some questions about the data.
Yeah, more of an agenda, but then random spots on the agenda for
But then then there's kind of an open-ended section after the structure. So those are just some stuff we could think through.
Just a little bit more curated, Paul, like what you're saying, where it's a little more curated, where instead of it kind of being stream of consciousness, it's we jump on and we're all right, here's the MRR, here's how much it went up or went down, here's what we learned, here's what happened, here's what we did. That could actually be interesting.
Yeah, so some of the stuff I like to follow on Instagram or TikTok are these kind of these journeys where it's this is day one of trying to hit 18 pars in a row or something.
Right.
And you kind of get used to a format, and it would be, I don't know, you probably wouldn't get that into it if every day the format seemed completely different. So let's say, for example, this is day 30 of scaling to 7 million. And then we go over the stats. And so then if you wanted to go back in time and look at day 20, you could then there's enough structure that you're oh, this is where they're at day 20, because we made some pretty cool strides through this whole process. So something that the viewers would if we had more of that, I think, clear reporting structure that they could see is how our lead quality has changed. I mean, for most marketers, that's one of the biggest question is what should we expect from lead quality from these platforms? And can it get better? And how do I make it better? And so some of the wins that we're seeing there would probably be pretty interesting to see from the outside as a marketer. I would, if I could tune in and see somebody 70 days into running a meta campaign and where they started and where they're at today, that would be really good data, because it would tell me what the expectations are. Because I feel a lot of what we don't know is in theory, could we get it so every lead that Meta produces is a 10,000 plus budget business? We don't know. But if someone had done a podcast and they're on day 300 and they're 50% of our leads are over $10,000 now, that'd be really helpful. I'd be we got to keep pushing aggressively. We got to keep testing a lot more. But if 300 days in, they're like, the distribution hasn't changed that much. It's about the same, but we can work with it. We can make money from it. That would be different. So that could be like, in terms of format, that would be an interesting approach, I think, is like we start labeling these like day 30, day 31, day 32. And then it's like this chronology. I don't know if that's the right word, but like you can kind of see like the time passing and the progress being made. And then you can like go back in time to see like where we're at, different stuff, what problems we're solving. And it just, like we've even started solving like profitability problems, meeting problems. So that's just an idea.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, let's revisit that. It sounds like we either don't have enough data yet to make the decision, or we don't know. What would actually be really helpful, maybe, Danielle, is to share our podcast with some other people that we could get advice from and be like, hey, what do you think of the format? What do you think of the podcast? What would make it better? What would make it more interesting? I do agree with Paul, like we should try to keep it to like 30 minutes and try to make it punchier. I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a really good call. Okay, cool. Let's talk about a few other things. So, Paul, last night I was revisiting the Hormozi. Remember the scaling plan? So if you go in and you fill out for like most of his YouTube channel, if you go and fill out the lead magnet that he has, it's like the video $100 million scaling 10, chart. And he has all the levels or whatever.
Yep.
Last night I was going back and re-watching the levels. And I think we should kind of make it mandatory watching for our leadership and management team, because basically at the level that we're at now, right, from at the like 50-ish plus people, I rewatched it last night and he talks about the optimized level. So two things. So he said you now have 2 products probably, which is true. We have ads, we have SEO. You have 2 products. You now need sales coaching systems, one-on-ones. Is exactly what we're now doing with the sales team that we weren't doing before, which is he's like one-on-one coaching, game film. You need to get the team together. You have the team watch the game film together. They say what they did wrong. The team says what they did right. So it's a way for everybody to learn at the same time. That's actually a really good idea. We're not doing that. We should start doing that. But it's all the stuff we're now doing, which is everyday one-on-one, really custom focused coaching. So that's really good. He talked about a couple things that we are not doing though, that we need to do. On the finance side, he said at your level now is when you need to start getting operational finance. So he said you need to know gross margin by profit. You need to know most profitable segments of customers, least profitable segments of customers, what things make and lose you money within the organization, where money stalls, like how long people take to pay, you need all the data now, because you need to start being able to make product and business level decisions, but you can't do that without data. So that's kind of what I've been talking about with strategic finance. That's going to be really important for us now, but it's going to come down to collecting the data and really making sure we understand take a SEO program, for example. What exactly is the gross margin on a link? What is the gross margin on a piece of content? What is the gross margin on a project management hour? What is the gross margin on getting super granular, so we really understand what goes into these things and how to price them effectively, and no longer finger in the wind guessing, right? Where it's like, people will pay $5,000 a month. Let's see if we can get it done for that. That's what we've been doing, and that will not scale, right? It just won't scale because we just don't have enough of an idea. So that was one thing. They talked about talent as well. And this is the level where we need to really up our talent game, because they said prior to this level, you're hiring a lot of people out of your network and a lot of people that you know and all that stuff. We've already been beyond that, right? They talked about LinkedIn Recruiter, all that. But then they talked about starting to get really intentional about senior hires and how you negotiate through senior hires, compensation. And they said 2 things that we're not doing that we need to start doing. Number one is they said when you hire the expert, the more senior level, like directors and above, and you need to start hiring those now. They said use a four-way interview. Is like they had like a 4-4-4 model, whatever the thing was, but break the interview into 4 different segments. One person, so they meet with Paul, and Paul checks for core value alignment. That's all you look for. You just talk to them about who they are, how they make decisions, who they are as a person. You're just trying to see if they align with our values. Then they meet with Sean, and Sean looks at the role and fit and experience. And then they meet with me, and I look at character and accountability. And what they said is you need to have more senior people meet independently with 4 different people in the organization. And the 4 people are not asking the same questions. The 4 people are asking 4 very different sets of questions and looking for 4 very different things, which increases your chances of determining bad fits, red flags, who isn't going to make it, and somebody can't kind of BS their way through 4 completely different interactions very well. Like that's hard to do, right? Because you also don't know what we're looking for, right? We're not asking these basic questions. We're asking much more character and how you operate and the way you make decisions type questions without telling them what we want the answers to be, right? So I thought that's really good, right? And so like if I had to go backwards and do this over again, where I think we've let's talk about some of the mistakes we've made and the wins we've had. So take Sean in our company, right, who's now our president, right? I've now come to learn with Sean that he's a huge Jocko Willink fan, right? Well, what does that mean? Well, Jocko Willink is a Navy SEAL who's all about go into the fray and take ownership and like own your ship and make it happen. And if you're the last guy alive, still complete the mission. Like it's the hardcore make it happen and be in charge and take responsibility. And I freaking love that stuff, right? Because that's how business has to be done. Well, I didn't actually know that, right? I didn't know that, but I lucked out because we made the hire and he happened to be that, right? But what if Sean wasn't that, right? What if Sean was no, I take off on 3 on Fridays because I need the peace of mind of being able to go sit in my garden and de-stress from the day. Like, that's fine, but that's not, those are 2 very different mindsets, right? Very different mindsets. Like that's not Navy SEALs, right? And so if we want Navy SEALs, then we need to hire people who already like Jocko Willink because they're already on the same page, right? So from a culture standpoint, this is really important that we get this part right as we scale now, is at the director level, it's both competence in the role, but also a very clear connection to exactly what we value in our core values, because that part cannot change. Like they aren't going to change their values. So I think that's something we've had a mistake with. And in the past, if you look at some more senior hires we've made that haven't worked out, the way they saw the world and what they valued and what they were trying to accomplish with their life was not what I'm trying to accomplish with my life and Helium. They weren't the same, right? They were not the same. It was like, oh, I'm going to do this thing, but I'm going to put a lot of my energy into my side thing that I run on the side. No, I hate that. Right? Like, I don't like either quit and start your own business or be a director here, but don't do both at the same time. You can't, right? Like you can't have this division of focus, right? That doesn't work. And so that's just a misalignment of values of who they are and what they're trying to accomplish. Even if they have knowledge that could help the business, what they want right now is not what we want. It doesn't work. So I think that's a mistake we've made. And where we've gotten hires right is we've kind of accidentally connected with the right people. And then like there's been that fit and it was like, oh, oops, well, that worked out well. But we kind of lucked into it, right? Which is why we don't have a like 80, 95% hit rate when we've hired more senior people. So I thought that was a really good idea, having 4 separate people interview, but they interview for 4 totally different things. And it gives you a better chance to get like real granular about who the person is. I thought that was really good. And then Lila said that at the more senior levels, like managers, experts, directors type people, she will get like 5 to 7 references and she'll spend 45 minutes talking to each of them. Like she's going to spend hours talking to the references. Like who is this?
I think the reference check is really critical. And I also think that's something that we have missed on senior leaders in some senses.
I agree. And here's what I want to stop doing, Paul, is there's all of the stuff around compliance of like, well, you got to be careful. People don't want to tell you stuff, whatever. No, that's not true. That is not true. People will talk to you. You just have to be a human about it. You got to call them and just be like, hey, do you know Danielle? Yeah, I know Danielle. Oh, amazing. Okay, cool. Hey, did you work with Danielle in the past? Yeah, I worked with Danielle. Don't make it this weird thing where it's like, hi, I am hiring Danielle. Are you allowed to tell me anything? I won't sue you. It's okay. And they're like, I can confirm she worked here. And it's like, just right. Like I got a reference call for one of our past employees last week. It was like a week ago. And the guy called up and he was like trying to hire one of our employees. And the employee that he was trying to hire, right? I liked the person. They weren't the perfect fit for our organization, but I still know them and know about them. And I also know the rules of like what you can and can't say, and don't get sued, all this stuff. But so they asked, and they were like, here's this. Can you let me know this person? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Right. So here's what I asked. I said, what would the role be, and what is your company? And then he told me the role in the company, and I could have gone one direction of like, hey, I can confirm you worked here. I can't say anything, right? But he told me the role in the company, and I was like, that would be perfect for this guy. Like that job would be literally, if I had to pick a job for that person, it would be that exact job. That is literally perfect for that guy, right? And so even though if he asked me like, was he super successful at Helium? No, he wasn't. But I don't need to say that because that's not important, because what I do think he would be amazing at is exactly the job that this company does. And so I was like, oh, okay. So then I gave him the feedback and I said, look, we sell a much more expensive product. It's not transactional. It's consultative. It's a long thing. This is how it goes, blah, 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 blah. Dude, this guy is phenomenal at very fast transactional sales in this industry. And he was like, oh, that's what we do. Yeah, then he would be a perfect fit for that. He's like, oh, great. Okay. And then we talked for a while. We talked about his business, and we talked for probably 30 minutes just about a bunch of other stuff. But we had a long conversation, and it was because it was just like human to human, right? Talking through stuff. And if he just would have asked me like, if he would have come too much at it from like HR like perspective, I would have clammed up and been like, I don't want to get sued, right? I don't want to get sued. I don't want to say anything. Versus let's talk about it. Like, let's have an honest, open conversation. Like, everybody has strengths and weaknesses. What do you think? Right? So I think, Paul, we need to do more of that.
I don't know actually where a lot of the concern around getting sued comes from, because usually they ask you questions in ways that are, like you can answer pretty honestly without really any risk.
How do I explain this? My thoughts on this. Paul, if you talk to a lawyer, right? I don't know if you've ever I deal with our business lawyers. I'll talk to our business lawyers sometimes.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's like
people, and they'll come out and they're like,
"Well, this is the side of caution."
Wow, I'd never thought of that risk before, right? Like I'd never even considered that, but okay, I could see how that would be a risk, I suppose. And I just don't think of it from that perspective. But so people who live in that world all day, every day, they're always thinking of the worst case scenario, right? Like, what's the absolute worst case thing that could happen? Which I understand. The point that I want to make moving forward is I think when we start to hire this director level talent, we need to take these hires, Paul, need to be like, I'm adopting someone into my family, right? It needs to be more of that. Like, who are you really? What are you really into? Like, what are your feelings on really key things in the world? How do you feel like people should be treated? How do you think work should be done? Is it work-life balance, or is it balls to the wall, hair on fire? Who are you as a person? Like, how do you see the world? What are the books you're reading? You talk to their references, and you're like, what is this person like? And if you get two very different answers, you're like, nope, they're BSing their way. Oh, Lila said something really good, which I thought was smart. She said the higher level talent you try to hire, the better they are at BSing in interviews. Because the higher level talent, usually the skills you're looking for are influence, right? Reading the room and being able to adapt to like complex personal situations. And those skills, which is the higher level people have to have, also make them much better BSers.
Oh yeah. Right? Well, also just think about, like if you look at a typical CMO, they're going to last they're not going to last long at most
18 months. Yeah.
Right. And so they're going to move from company to company. Each time they move to a company, they have to be able to convince a lot of the leadership that they're the right fit for the role. So they just get really good at that. And they are really good at that. Not that they refine their skills for one, but they are good at it. Right. So, yeah. So it's
because there's convincing leadership. So, Paul, you've worked on multiple large accounts where a new CMO came in and how often has that new CMO moved the direction in the right direction or the wrong direction?
Yeah, I would say more often, not the right direction.
We've seen it. We've literally seen this on our accounts. A new CMO comes in and the results go down because they come in and they're like, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to do this,
sort of
like
a grass is greener with a new CMO. Plus, I think where I see new CMOs really screw up a lot is that because they're coming in to sort of save something about the business, they are biased towards taking action everywhere possible. And so but they don't know enough yet. So they come in and they break everything. It creates problems, and then a new CMO replaces them. It's just a repeated cycle of like, let's switch from WordPress to a new CMS. Then like a new CMO comes in. Let's go back to WordPress. Then like a new site. And it's like they've changed their site like 10 times through this process, and they don't know which levers to pull. Usually in these situations, like the unit economics of the business might be more at play than the specific marketing strategy. And so you've got a problem, and then you're just changing the leader on the problem. And then they are like grasping at straws, and then they break some straws, and then they grab a new leader, they break some more straws. Because if you're rotating your CMO constantly, it might be a sign that your business has problems, not that your marketing needs a different leader.
Right.
So
I think so this would be a really good clip for the podcast. We should clip this down. Like, why do so many new CMOs fail in roles that we see? Because we're there before they come in the organization typically, and then sometimes we're there after they leave as well. And we see this, and I agree that they come in with this bias of like, what we're doing is not working enough, so let's change everything, right? Versus the book, the new executive, whatever the title of the book, I think was like the first 90 days. The best new executives come in and they don't change anything for 90 days.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I actually don't think bias towards action is a good trait. The problem is changing before you understand.
Right.
Because you need to look like you're accomplishing something. So it's more change for perception, not change for outcome. That's the problem, I think. Yeah.
And the other thing is, you also don't know enough yet to really make the right changes for that organization, right? Because just because it worked in another organization doesn't necessarily.
Copy. This is actually a point that I think I've seen to be really true over the years, which is copying and pasting ideas from other companies is not nearly as effective as solving for problems that emerge from your company. So if you focus your time on solving the problems in your company, then your company will do a lot better. When you copy and paste something over, rarely does it work unless your business is like an exact parallel.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. I agree.
Yeah, so I think for the CMOs, if we go back to this, right, is if we were going to hire a CMO, what would Lila Hormozi say the process should be? Number one is it would need to be 4 separate interviews with like you, me, Paul, Josh, or you, me, Sean, Josh, and everybody's interviewing for something different, right? We're not all asking the same questions. And everybody gets together and says, okay, what were the answers? What red flags? What are the challenges we see? Blah, 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 blah. We get like 5 to 7 to 9 references. We call all of them and we have a long conversation about just who is this person, right? Who are they? What are they like? What are they good at? What are they not good at? Like just all that stuff. And I have done that in the past for key hires, and those key hires have worked out because I've really understood who the person was at a deep level. Then back to your point, Paul. So we do that. Then you have the like compensation conversations, and like we should expect compensation to be more complicated for more senior hires, right? Because they said this in the video, but I agree. It's more of a financial risk for them, and it's more of a financial risk for you. So you need to be able to have those conversations openly, not just one time, but that might be a series of conversations with a senior level hire, because they're almost certainly already working somewhere else, happy with their current role, but this is a better opportunity. So you have to make it better for them. So I think we need to take that part more seriously. And then one thing they did say, which I thought was smart, is how you hire senior people and how you hire frontline people are different, because with those frontline people, you just take less. There's fewer reference checks and there's fewer people they meet with. So they said one thing not to do is change your process when you get to the next level to now take everybody through the director level process. That's a waste of time. So you need to do like, if it's 4 and 4 and, like 4 different interviews and 4 different reference checks, right? For the senior level, it's 2 and 2 for the junior, right? You do the same thing, but you do less of it because it's less of a risk. It's less pay, right? It's easier to replace. So I thought that was really smart. They said a lot of companies will make the mistake of like, this is our new hiring process. And they try to do that for every single role. They're like, not every role needs that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think for most roles, it's hire somewhat slow, fire fast, because you also, like, even no matter how great this process is, you kind of need to see the person in the role in the capacity for a bit. Like, but the senior leadership, you want to do as much as you can up front to ensure it's going to be successful. But even so, I'm sure there's still instances where it's not.
Right. So I think the other thing in the video that stood out to me was just this idea of we're going to have, at our size, we're going to have 2 levels of management. So now we have managers that manage individual contributors, and then we have managers who manage the managers. They said to go to the next level. So the next level up above us is when you have managers managing the managers who manage the managers. So it's just adding another layer now above, right? Mm-hmm. So I think, Paul, for us to really nail it at this level, we need to make sure we have all the people in place. Like the sales manager, right? The engineering manager, the content manager, like every department has to have a manager who's good and they're a solid manager. Then we have, they report up to the leadership team. The next level is when we install another level where basically the leaders go up a level, and now there's like a VP level in there, right? As you get bigger, because now you have more individual contributors, like more managers, the managers level up to directors, the directors level up to VPs, the VPs level up to C levels. So you just kind of keep building up the chain. But here's what I wanted to say in terms of organizational design, capacity, and training. So to go to the next level for our business, we know we have to fix gross profit and we have to fix the product so we have enough GP to run enough ads to get enough people to get the front line and all that stuff. You need to have a lot of that, or it doesn't pay for the next levels in the org. But the one thing that stood out to me that we are going to have to do differently than what we do today is managers, and then the next level, and then the next level. I think that needs to be methodically thought through, trained. That can't be like we throw someone in a management role and we're like, all right, we'll give you a little bit of support, but go figure it out, right? Like we don't even do that with our frontline salespeople. Like I meet with our salespeople every day to train, right? Like if we meet with our managers once a month to train them, like that's a disaster, right? Mm-hmm. That is not going to work. So we have to start getting much more intentional about every single role in the business. Like who is training this individual contributor and helping them to be great at their job? Who is training that manager and helping the manager be awesome at their job at probably the same level, probably a daily training, right? And training them on management, holding people accountable, asking tough questions, all the stuff. Who's training the director? Who's training the VP? Who's training the C level? Like everybody, every single person in the company needs to be getting trained on a daily basis to be getting better. Mm-hmm. Everybody. And I think what we're doing wrong today is I think we have too much of like, we kind of set something and then we put somebody in charge and we hope they figure it out. But hope's not a business strategy. That doesn't work. And that's not going to work. That is not nearly enough. And I think the training cannot just come from like, me or Sean down to a whole organization. That's just not, that's one to many. That's not really training. That's more of a seminar, right? That's not going to be enough. So I think we've got to get a lot more intentional about our human resource people development training systems. And we need to get a lot more anal about if you're going to work at Helium as an individual contributor, here's how we're going to help you be awesome at your job. It's going to be a constant daily thing. And if you're going to be a manager, here's how every day we're going to work on helping you be a better manager. If you're going to be a director, help you be better. And it's like that level, right? That's how we're going to have to scale. And if it sounds like a lot of work, it is. It is a lot of work. That's why it's hard to build a really big company. When I hear them talk about it, I'm like, yeah, that's the stuff we're missing. We aren't going to that level, but that's what we need to be doing.
Yeah, I think my question on that would just be with constraint theory and focus. How do you envision the time for that? Like, is that like, are you saying that is we gotta bring someone in to do that? Because that could easily become like a very big focus.
Sure. So this, Paul, I think this is why your margins go down as you scale, because you have to have enough people going to you have to have enough physical time into this level of training. Let me give an example on sales, because I can pick on the sales because I've lived it, I've seen it. Prior to me meeting with and training every sales rep every day, our close rate was 17%, right? Now our close rate's like 60%. And the biggest change is that I stopped accepting a low close rate and what we were doing before. And I was like, I'm going to train with my team every single day. We're going to train every day. Like no exceptions, every single day, every person individually. That's a lot of time, right? That's a big commitment, but it's also just what it takes. And our results have tripled.
Right. But that's also like, that's completely in alignment with the constraint that we're focused on.
Right.
Because it's one of the biggest levers.
But let's just unpack really quickly what has happened in that value chain. I went and got training. I'm getting constant training from people who know more than me on a daily basis. How do I get better as a sales manager? How do I actually need to do sales management? What does that really look? What does good look like? Right? Or Mosey's like, oh, I train my reps every single day, and every day we practice closing. Every day we're looking at game film. Like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm doing it wrong. I need to do that. So then I just immediately change what I'm doing to clear my calendar, take the stuff off my calendar. We're going to do this the right way, right? There's a good way to manage and a bad way to manage. I think the wrong way to manage is you're over the people, but you're not making your people better, right? You're just over them, right? That's like the city official I have to pay my taxes to, but I'm like, what do you even do for me, right? Like, what do you even do here? All right, but I have to pay my taxes. And then there's the manager who's like growing you. You've probably heard this, but people join a company, but they quit a manager. They quit their boss. They don't quit a company. They quit a boss they don't like. And people don't want to quit the coach that pushes them, but that loves them, right? I've heard this in sports. People's favorite coaches, you take the Coach K's, they were always the coaches who expected the most, pushed them the hardest, but did it because they cared about them, not because they were just like hard as nails, I don't care about people kind of person. They were like, I see greatness in you. You're at this D1 level. You could go pro. I'm going to push you harder than you think you can go because I know you can do it. But they did it because they cared about the person. People always report those being their favorite coaches. So it's viewing yourself as a coach and pushing your team to be the very best they can be. And then those people will rise to the challenge because people want to see what they're capable of. But that, Paul, that takes a lot of time. That takes skill as a manager and time and focus to do that, right?
Right.
But so how do we do it, I guess? Number one is our managers have to be able to do that. If they aren't if they're not capable of being a good coach, then they can't coach, right? So that's number one. And if you can't coach, you need to be an individual contributor. Number two is once you are a coach, you need to be getting coaching from a coach on a daily basis, how to get better as being a coach, right? The coach needs a coach. Like everybody has to have a coach, no matter how low you are in the org and how high you are. Everybody needs a coach, and the coach should be coaching daily, right? It's just what it is. So I think our directors, so if we think about it, Paul, it's basically the individual contributor is getting coached by the manager daily. The manager is getting coached by the director daily, right? The director is getting coached by the VP daily. The VP is getting coached by the C-level daily. That's the whole touch base. And then probably over time, as you've had that person for a long time and you know them, it can maybe move to weekly, right? So like each week, and it really reduces the time. But I think at this point, we should just overinvest the energy and the time to build it out really well. But I think what we're doing is we're hiring people and we're hoping that they figure it out and be their best. And that's just very unlikely to work.
Yeah, I do think we don't have enough structure for management training in our org. Yeah.
Right, because take an example. So like, let's say that I replaced myself with the sales manager. Now I moved to sales director, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hire someone who's super expert, right? Who really knows how to do this job already. That's the first hire. I replaced myself with someone even better than me, right? Who comes in there and doing this stuff. But then I need to talk to that person daily, and it's like, we're looking at the metrics. Okay, where are the metrics? Hey, you're managing. You're talking to Ryan today. Like, what are you working on with Ryan specifically? Oh, I'm working on this and this and this. What are you working on with Vance specifically? Oh, this and this and this. Okay, what are you working on with Luke? What are you working on with these person? How are you growing the team? Who are you hiring? How do you have? I'm always on top of the details. And the right hire there, he or she does not need me to tell them how to coach a sales rep because then I hired the wrong person. That person needs me to understand what's going on and say, okay, cool, you're doing these things. What do you need from me? What's the constraint you need removed? I don't have enough budget for enough good reps. Okay, how many good reps do you need? Well, this and this and this. Well, why do you need that many reps? How many? And then we're unpacking problems together, right? Mm-hmm. So the coaching goes up as you go up the levels. Like the director should not. If we have to coach the director on how to manage their reports, we hired the wrong person already, right? So the coaching needs to be different. Just like at our level as entrepreneurs, the coaching is not basic, like how to do ads management. The coaching is how do you make difficult strategic decisions with low amounts of data, right? The coaching is how do you rebuild your product to be high gross profit? Like it's challenging, like very sticky problems that are like, oof, that can't be solved in a day or an hour. That's going to be solved over months or years, and it's going to be complicated. That's the kind of crap we have to work on, right?
Oh yeah.
But we have to get coaching. That's exactly why we're going, and we're getting the videos, and we're paying for the advice, and we're paying for the club, and we're reading the books. Like we're getting that coaching so we know what to do, right?
Oh yeah.
And then we apply it. Like it's no different. So that's how we do it, and it is a lot of work. I mean, I think this is why people sell the business at 20, 30 million is because they're like, gosh, this is a ton of work to do this correctly. And it is, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's not. There is no passive business. I think that's just a lie. That's
oh yeah.
It's passive business. Nah, BS, dude. If you have
not until you're a silent partner or something. Yeah, there's not.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
or an investor.
Partner. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's the only true passive. Yeah, that is definitely 100% true. Yeah. I was asking. I'll have to jump in a minute, but I was asking ChatGPT a question the other day, which just to see what its response was. But I thought it was pretty fascinating. Of, what are the things that entrepreneurs are surprised about when they hit 10 million, like psychologically? And the answers were, there was like a couple things that came up consistently. So one was that you're often making decisions by like on the edge of your seat, like, or finger in the wind decisions still. So like most people expect when they get to that stage, it's like every decision has tons of data and like someone has researched the best approach. But realistically, at the $7-10 million mark, you're making tons of decisions that with very little data, and you're gonna have to change and pivot a lot because of that. Because you can't go invest like 6 months of research before going to do something. And then another one was just that marketing is always at this stage, always in a state of flux. Like you always have to be trying new stuff. You always have to be trying to improve it. It's not like a consistent machine that's always reliable. So it's interesting because I think a lot of people also, like when they envision a future of getting to like this size, they see the business as way less chaotic and way more stable, and decisions come way more data and confidence. But the reality at this stage is it's not like that at all. It's better to just accept the reality that it's a little bit more whimsical than a $50 million, $100 million company.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
So I think my takeaway there, Paul, is just management is a lot more work than people think it is. And it's a skill that must be learned. And so we need to be really training our managers, like very intentionally. And our managers have to be training their teams very intentionally. Like I have learned that a weekly one-on-one is not even close to enough. It's not enough to really impart your knowledge, skills, and ability. It just isn't. Like, it's just not enough. I have to talk to my reps every single day, and even that's not necessarily enough. But the impact is big. And so, as we try to scale this organization, we are going to have to just get very, very, very focused on talent and the talent that we bring in, the skills that that talent has. But our next hires now need to not be individual contributors. They need to be managers and directors and VPs who are very good at leading people, right? They are leaders of people, and they understand how to lead and how to organize and how to train. And I think a new thing I'm going to start looking for in any interview that I have with future managers is, how often do you train your team? What does your training look like? And if the answer is less than every day, I think I'm out on that person. I think that's my new standard for how management has to be done. Because I wouldn't parent my kids one day a week, right? Just wouldn't be enough. We parent every day all the time because it's just what it takes. And so I don't see why management would be any different. I think it's just a lot of hard work, which is, I think, also why player coaches, it's really hard to be a player coach, because you're trying to get your work done and manage, and then you're going to kind of suck at both. Or you're going to be really good at one and then not really do the other one, which I think is another trap that we're getting into.
Well, I think I think like what we need to think of, like come up with a plan on, is like the trap is sort of a symptom of the bandwidth and constraints on the organization. So like, like when you only have like 3 people on your team for one, and you're the lead of that team, like that's what kind of forces you to, like, it's kind of like being on a basketball team and you have 4 players and you're playing against teams of 5. Like, you'd still need a coach, but you also need a player to compete. So otherwise they're just gonna you're gonna get steamrolled by teams that have one more person than you. So I think that's the part like I'd want to plan out. I'm in alignment like about we need to invest more in training our people, like at all the different levels of our company. But then I think I do think we need to strategize. How do we do that? Like, how do we ensure that we can do that? And it's probably an org chart thing. Yeah,
it is. So yeah, just that's the takeaway for today is we just continue to fix the constraints. But basically, one of the biggest differences between a 50-person company and a 100-person company and a 200-person company will come down to hiring now. It comes down to people. I think Hormozi said every business, once you get above 10 million, every business is a recruiting company. That's just what it all comes down to. Like, it just comes down to people at that point.
Yeah. Oh, that was something else that really stood out in the question I asked ChatGPT, is just like to get past 10 million, you have to, like, it's no, the owner heroicism can no longer get you there. I mean, we've talked about that a million times, but like, so if the owner heroics can't get you there, then that means it's all about the other people in the org being able to, like, you basically have a bunch of mini companies that need leaders that can grow them, is like the way it put it.
Yeah.
So you got exactly 5 owners of $5 million companies all operating together. Like, that's the leader you need in each role.
The good news is you duplicate. So this idea though is, once you have created a team of people who really knows what they're doing, you can duplicate your time, because now, like, if you and I had to go manage 50 people every single day, there's physically is not enough time. We couldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
But if you hire a manager who then you train on a daily basis for 30 minutes, and then they go manage 5 people or 8 people, you just saved yourself whatever that is, 8 times 30 minutes every day, right?
That's
4
leverage.
hours.
That's like the definition of leverage, basically.
That's leverage. And then you go to the next level. Now you train a VP for 30 minutes every day, and that VP trains 8 managers every day, and those 8 managers train 8 people every day. It's just leverage, right? So you're still training every day, but it's just who you're training. Today I'm training 3 reps. In a year, I want to be training 3 sales managers every day. In a year from there, I'm going to be training 3 VPs every day. Now our company is 10 times the size, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to take. So I think what kind of broke free for me is, when listening to that, is it's just all about people. Like, you got to get the product right, where the product is really high gross margin, where it actually can scale. We've messed that up, right? We've had too low of a GP product. not high enough gross profit. Fixing that now. And that's really like, Paul, kind of how if I had to see like how we break this down, is what I'm expecting and relying on you for is figuring out the delivery of that new product, like as automated as possible, perfect as possible, so it's like really can be delivered, right? So you're like the delivery operations expert here. What I'm going to focus my time on is how do we build the org, who the people and the training. So how do we build the org to accomplish the scale and the growth, right? Because I think like your skill set's going to be the execution and the building of the product. Like, how's the thing go? And that has to be done really well. And that's not my skill. That's your skill. And then my skill is going to be the stuff that I'm passionate about, which is who are the right people? How do we train them extremely well? How do we hold people accountable? How do we hold ourselves accountable? What's the process need to be? Like, let's get that engine really right, because then we can scale. But the people won't build the product, right?
Yep.
You have to build the product, because they won't. They can't. That's just not what they're going to do. So I think what we've done wrong up until now, Paul, is we've had kind of this like a little bit too much like we'll figure it out as we go. But I think now that we're past that now, and it's like, no, we're going to figure out the product really right first now. And then we're going to hire the talent, and we're going to have everything pre-planned effectively so we're ready to scale, right? Because the ground has to be ready for the seed, or else it won't grow.
Yep.
Does that make sense? What I think we've missed?
Oh yeah, no, I this all makes sense to me. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and our issue before is it's like you just cannot hire the experts and enough managers if you don't have enough gross profit. Just isn't enough dollars.
Yeah,
right?
I think this idea comes back to the idea that I've shared too about like lieutenants. The lieutenants are a big theme of. Like, I think you could put like what is becoming a $15 million company look like for most orgs in a couple buckets, but I definitely think like you need like these A-player lieutenants, and you cannot we can only go so far with like our involvement in growing the company. Like we can only push it so far.
Yep, I think it's systems. I think it's creating systems. So. All right, cool. No, this is great. I know we're getting too long on the episode, but takeaways are, let's keep pushing marketing. Leads are starting to get or continue to look better, so let's keep pushing that. And then management. It's going to come down to how we manage and how well we manage our teams, right? And then hiring the right people who can manage effectively, but also creating a culture of proper management within our company. It's going to create a culture of management, right? Where this is how we do it here, right? And it's going to be high accountability, high transparency, right? Let's push and encourage our people to be the best. It's just how we have to do it. So that's the direction we got to go in.
Awesome.
Cool, guys.
Cool.
Everyone have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.
See you guys.